Welcome to a brand new series on the Chinese Clan YouTube channel called Science of Stoicheia. Science of Stoicheia will be focusing on the Stoicheia Nation and Card 5 Vanguard overdress, and we will be having topic discussions here on this YouTube channel. To start off this debut, we'll be looking at a deck that I have had my eye on ever since the beginning of the year when it was announced, Magnolia. Now, Magnolia is a very good deck because it has a good utilization of multi-attacking and is a very aggressive deck in a format that sees it a bit slower here in BT-01. To start off, we're going to take a look at the ride line, and basically we start off with the grade 0, which is Silverhorn Beast Lots, which is basically the G0 that has when this card is rolled upon, if you go second, draw a card. And it's not much to worry about, but I definitely think that if you're looking at Magnolia, this card is very good to not utilize its ability. You rather want to go first in this deck, and we'll get to that when we talk about the Persona riding. Next card we have up on deck is Karis. Now, Karis is a very good card, both on the field and in the ride line. In the ride line, when this unit is rolled upon by Lattice, you may reveal a top card of the deck. If it is a grade 2 or less, put the unit onto the field, or basically put it into your soul if it is G3 or an order. So this works very well in two different ways. The first way is that it basically gives a free plus on the board, and the second way is that if you definitely need soul, which some parts of this deck does need soul, it basically gives you a free soul charge. With how my deck is built, it is better to have a G2 or below, so you can call it onto the field instead, but a free soul charge is a free soul charge overall. Next card we're going to be looking at is Lattice. Now, Lattice is very interesting. When this unit is run upon by Silverhorn Beast King Magnolia, Soul Blast 1 and reveal the top card of your deck, and call the rearguard circle, or if it's an order card, you can put it to hand. Now, the other ability is that on the back row rearguard circle, when this unit attack hits a Vanguard, you can Soul Blast 1, and this unit gets plus 10k until the end of battle. Now, compared to Karis, which I didn't talk about its other ability in the back row rearguard circle, this is more of a free ability utilized. Compared to Lattice, it does have to spend Soul Blast to do its abilities, but there's a lot more gain with it, as this one is plus 10k, as opposed to Karis, where it is plus 5k. And this is also typically the back row, which we focus on the main units that we're going to be looking at, which is Magnolia. Now, Magnolia is a very good card, and especially good when you utilize its Persona Ride ability. At the end of the battle, this unit attack, Counterblast 1, choose one of the rear guards. At the end of the turn, that unit can attack from the back row and get plus 5k. If you Persona Ride this turn, choose 3 rear guards instead of 1. Now, what's very good about how this can be utilized is that what you can do is Persona Ride over it, and you'll be able to get units to go attack from the back row 3 times. Now, what's going to be interesting is the way I built it is that I want to go rush consistently, and what can also still be good as well as I've seen people at my locals do is that they give the 5k to some of the front row units to give more beefy power. Personally, I don't really use that. I try to go make my back row attackers a lot more useful in this scenario because I want to attack from the back as much as possible. So I don't really do that, but that is something you can also potentially do with Magnolia. Now, moving on to the other parts of the deck, the only grade 3 I play is just the same copies of Magnolia, and of course this deck is highly Persona Ride reliant, and this is of course again very good to have in the front going first, because if you go first in this deck, you're going to be rushing them pretty fast on turn 4 pretty much, if you can draw into this. And overall, you should definitely have Persona Ride copies available, and it already comes with it in your start deck, since this is a start deck focused variant. Now, moving on to the grade 2s, the first one that we look at for playset is Jinsola. And Jinsola is a very good card. When this unit attacks, Counterblast 1, choose one of your other rear guards, and it gets basically its same exact power that it has until the end of the turn. What's very good about this is that if you utilize Magnolia, it will already give it 5k, and it will transfer 15k. But what's even more interesting here is with this back row rearguard circle skill, is that if you stack up other power cards, and we will get to some of the other power cards later, This can go for 20, 30, even 40k I've seen before. It can transfer its triggers, it can transfer its over trigger. It's very good here for utilizing power, and definitely one thing you want to stack. And it's very reminiscent of Great Nature in the past, where Great Nature liked to go build up other rearguard's power. This case, this one is a triple R here. It is one of the most expensive cards in Stoicheia, I believe. And this is just very good for good game-ending situations, especially if you're trying to go push for lethal. The next card we're going to be looking at that is also a playset is Spurring Mating Alenia. Now, Alenia is very good over here because when this unit is placed from rearguard circle from hand, Counterblast 1 and Soul Blast 1 and choose a grade 2 or less card from your drop and call it to rearguard circle, and it gets plus 5k into the end of the turn. Something I want to stress is that I actually do not, a little bit of spoiler, that I do not play Karis or Lattice at more than 1 because I like using this ability to get these on the field immediately. Now, more of turn 2 per se, because I want more Karis on the board immediately to just have as a beater. But for Revival Engine, this is very good for go playing some other stuff. You can put Adamantis back. Adamantis will get a 5k as well. And this is also more towards a turn 2 utilization, but can be also used in the late game if you need to go plus the board a little bit more. Now, going over to something that we put at 3, we put Silverhorde Beast Duger, which is from the start deck. And Duger has a pretty simple ability. If you have 4 or more other rearguards, this unit gets power plus 5k. Now, this card is probably going to be taken out in BT-02, but I think for now, we're looking at the BT-01 stuff. I think that this is going to be very good, especially on a Persona Ride turn where you already have like 2 Dugers, for example, and that's already a 25k beater, so they're probably asking for a trigger or whatnot. And I think also this is a very good card as well to go stack the power on with Silverhorn Beast Jinsola. Now, the last card I'm going to be talking about from the units is something that not many people have been thoroughly playing, but I have decided to play it. I'm playing Silverhorn Beast Aleo. Now, Aleo, basically, if you retire this unit in Act Phase, you can choose 2 of your units and give power plus 5k. So it can easily give power to Jinsola, it can easily give power to Duger, it can give power to a lot of thorough rearguards, and very good especially for during a Persona Ride turn. It's very good also to go open up space for on the board. Sometimes your board is thoroughly clogged in Magnolia, and what you want to do is try to get as much power on other units and go for more of that lethal push, as we were talking about earlier. For grade 1s, I kind of decided to keep it simple. For playset, I have Conspiring Mutant Adamantis. Now, Adamantis simply is just when you place it on rearguard circle, you give another rearguard plus 5k. And once again, very good for stacking Jinsola. I think this is also very good in a Revival Engine too if you're going to try to push on turn 2 with Alenia. And I think that this bar, having a good utilization to go push it towards other rearguard circles with numbers is going to be very good, especially for stuff that you want to thoroughly hit with Magnolia as your back row attackers. The last card I'm going to be talking about before we get to the orders is, of course, our Sentinel. Now, the thing with the Sentinel is that it is basically 6k, but when you think it down deep is that even if you get this on your call top card, you can bounce this, and we'll get to the orders that I play. But what's also very good is that you can make this a 16k, because if you decide to put this in your front row circle on Persona Ride turn, it'll be a 16k attacker, and that can pretty much hit normally. Sure, it's just a small amount of poke, but it's able to force out at least one card. And the thing with Magnolia is that you also want to not only play to give your opponent quick damage and as much attack as possible, but you also want to try to force out as many cards as much as possible. This slows down a lot of cards that are highly reliant on having hand in the late game, which Magnolia is definitely not a deck that wants to focus on late game at all. So now we get to the orders. And the first order we're going to be looking at is Spiritual Body Condensation. This is more important in the Zorga thing, in which we'll be having the next video talking about BT-01 Zorga. But Spiritual Body Condensation is very good. Soul Blast 1 and just call a card. It's basically a Alenia skill without the Counter Blast, but the thing is that originally I had Spiritual Body Condensation at 4. Now, when I was thinking more deep into this, Alenia is very good for 1 early, because what you can do is Counter Blast and then try to heal out of it. But the thing with Alenia is that Alenia is a unit card. This is not. And this is basically a free +1 on the board. The other one is basically kind of +2 on the board itself when you place it down and then calling a card from drop. But I think Condensation is a very good backup, and I think 6 Revival is the sweet spot overall, in my opinion. The last card we're going to be talking about is a very important card, and I'd say that this card is going to have a long longevity for the future, and that is Ghost Chase. Now, Ghost Chase is very good because this is a Blitz order, and this is very important for having clunky boards. As we know with Aliho, we want to clear a good amount of board as possible to have some open slots, but Ghost Chase can do that as well, as we choose one of our units, prioritizing the Vanguard mostly, and it gets plus 5k until the end of that battle, and then after that, we can choose one of our rear guards not being attacked and return it to our hand. So what's going to be good is that when we show triggers and we potentially call out triggers with the top card through Karis and Lattice's ability, those are going to be the ones where we could be getting triggers, which I've seen sometimes we get over triggers, for example. Those are kind of the cards that we can bounce back to our hand. And it's very good as well because this is actually how we're going to get a lot of our defensive, excluding our drive checks and our twin drive. I think Ghost Chase is going to be super important heading into the next few sets. And definitely, this is a must to get, especially if you want to just play BT-01 Magnolia without the new support, or even if you're just playing the start deck, if you want to have like those small budget upgrades, Ghost Chase is 100% a necessity. Now, when we look at trigger lineups, we're going to be taking a look at 7 crits. Now, the reason why I'm playing 7 crit and not 8 crit is because this deck does need draw, which we'll get to. But I still think that the crit pressure is going to be very good within it. Can't go wrong with crit overall, but the most important thing coming in our deck is 4 draw. Now, we play 4 draw because 4 draw is going to be very good to have, because considering that Magnolia does not have consistent draw power, we have to rely on Persona Rider, which draws us 1 card, and other such as usual. Now, the thing is that Magnolia as a whole mobile focuses on plus and board, and if you want a plus hand, we definitely need some draw triggers. I'd say 4 is pretty good overall. You can bump this up to 5 or 6, but I think that having 7 crit is still very valuable in this. We have heal, of course. Heal triggers, very explainable. You just want to try to hit your heal trigger as much as possible, and it's always just a comfort card to have overall. And the last thing we want to go take a look at is our over trigger. Now, our over trigger is very interesting. So this is Source, Dragon Deity, a Blessing, Bless Favor. Basically, we can only have 1 in deck as per the rules. But this one is basically Rainbow Trigger. What this means is that it has crit, it has draw, it has heal, and it has front. Now, the thing is also we're not playing front in this deck, which I used to do, but considering that front hasn't been as much effective, I'd say that Bless Favor is definitely something that's going to be very good if you can drive check this. If you can drive check this, you get a plus 10k free to the board. And what's also very good is that this over trigger does give 100 million power. You can stack that on Jinsola, pass Jinsola, and then basically try to have your back row rear guards hit more, because your front row rear guards are already going to get a plus 10k, basically plus 20k throughout the board. And what's also very good with this is that even on defense, this can just shut down turns. If you hit this on defensive, that it will just, then you'll be able to draw 1 card through that, and it's basically a pseudo heal trigger with it without being considered taking it in the damage zone. In terms of my utilization of Bless Favor, I haven't gotten it that much, but I've also been mostly using it as the shield value, as this shield value is 50k. But I definitely recommend that Bless Favor is something that is definitely necessary. You can also play the Cray one as well, but I'd say that Bless Favor is just very good because it just gives you a good amount of numbers. It gives you basically a good amount of draw, and also there is a good utilization that you can go play this on defense. You can even bounce this as well with Ghost Chase. And those are the overall main cards looking at my Magnolia deck. Now, why do I like Magnolia personally? The first reason is that I really love multi-attack, and this can utilize all 6 rearguard circles for attacks potentially. I really like also that sometimes you can go play all in. Sometimes you feel like you don't really have a turn. And for cards like Platter, which is your draw trigger, you can go put them up in the front because they are not have as much big shield value, and they can just be basically 15k attackers and just try to poke out your opponent. And that's something you want to do with this deck. You want to go a bit more aggressive with this deck, and thoroughly, this is definitely one of the big aggression decks out of the meta. There are, of course, a lot of other older multi-attack decks, but I'd say for pure aggression, this is one of the best coming out of it. What's also very great about this deck is that I did place 6 and 2 in BSFO. Now, BSFO is a very popular major that happened during a remote fight. I went 6 and 2 with it, and this deck can really stand out as probably very, very high in tier 2. I definitely say that it gets so much better in BT-02, but we're not going to be talking about that. But I'd say for a BT-01 focus, this is still pretty good, at least as a tier 2. And definitely though, I would say that this deck does have a good amount of RNG, but if you want more consistency, we're going to be talking about the Zorga deck next, and hope you guys go check out that video projectedly tomorrow. Other than that, that has been pretty much my deck profile. I'm excited to go bring more of this Science of Stoicheia series. We're going to be talking about a lot of different topics. We're going to be talking about how this overture can benefit a bit more in depth, and a lot more other topics as well, like feature support, the future Aqua Force looking units, etc. So hope you all guys continue with joining in the ride. Thank you all for supporting. Continue to embrace the darkness, and we will see you all in the next video.